Happy to be joined by the head coach at Extreme Couture, of course, is prepping Sean Strickland for his title fight at UFC 293. It's Eric Nicksick joining me here on the program. Eric, how are you, man?
Doing well, James. Good to see you again, brother.
Good to see you as well. We haven't done one of these virtually in a while. Usually I've been seeing you at the gym or at the events, but I appreciate you making the time. Let's start right at the top with Sean Strickland. Big title fight coming up in a few weeks. Take me through the process of him getting this title shot, because there was some talk that it wasn't going to happen. There was a visa. What do you know? What type of insight can you give us into him actually getting the fight?
He was there for the Dricus and Whitaker fight. When he saw Dricus win in the fashion that he won, automatically Sean assumed that he would be getting the fight. And again, I kind of reminded him, like, hey, bro, you never know. Like, let's just stay in shape, even if it's a situation where we might even be the backup. Like, we just don't know. So don't get discouraged at this situation. This is where you've always been good anyway, is you're right back in the gym and you're always in shape. So just kind of keeping his mind sharp and ready to go in case this fight does happen. And that was the thing. There was a couple like the visa, the this, the that. I didn't think it was going to be that big of an issue, to be honest with you. So just stay focused and stay prepared, because a lot of people are saying like, oh, this is a short notice opportunity. It's not. Like, Sean needed to be ready this entire time. So it's on us to stay prepared and be ready to go.
When was it official on your end? Because obviously we find stuff in public. We see the poster, the UFC announce it, but you guys sometimes find out a lot sooner. Was it right around the time we all found out, or how much notice did you have that it was 100% good?
Yeah, just about the same time you guys did, to be honest with you. And you guys are good at that, man. It's so crazy. Like, I'll get a text like, hey, we got to fight. And then like you or Big Marcel or this guy or somebody will have it like already on Instagram. Like, man, these guys are good. So we knew about the same time you guys did. And it was about the same notice.
What type of camp has Sean had so far? Has it pretty much been business as usual, or anything different that you're doing for the fact that you're fighting a title fight against Adesanya?
No, it's been business as usual. Thankfully we have Sadabu C here and Michelle Pere and guys like with that type of length that are a little bit taller that can move with them. Obviously Sadi just fought, so for us to get him back in the gym, we didn't get to have him that much, but thankfully, Sean does spar with Sadi quite a bit. So whether Sadi was trying to be Izzy or we were just trying to spar Sadabu, it was nice to have a guy that size and that length that can move and that can kick. So, but preparation's been pretty much as usual. Sean likes to spar damn near every day. And then during grappling classes, he's fighting the whole time. So, we're doing a lot of trying to break down some X's and O's for him and, do the best we can. Cause Sean, how Sean gets, man, he gets going and his brain goes a million miles an hour. And it's like talking to your 6-year-old. You got to like kind of wrangle him in and keep him composed and keep him centered on the task at hand. But for the most part, honestly, James, man, he's been great.
Any up-and-comers he's working with? I always like hearing about guys that maybe we're not familiar with as much, that maybe get to work with him. I know it's a big gym, but any guys that maybe we haven't heard of that are working with him?
We had Cesar Almeida that was on the Contender Series. He just won he was the main event. And Cesar actually fought Alex Pereira in kickboxing and beat him. So Cesar was out here quite a bit and helping, we were helping him get ready, but, inherently he's going to be helping you as well. So he was a young up and comer that, man, we really enjoyed having him in the gym. He went back to Brazil, but just booked a fight recently. So he'll be back in that 85-pound division in here, man, is stacked. There's so many great guys in here. So, but he was a young up and comer. And then Mansour Abdul Malik. Yeah, he's a stud. He's one of our young up and comers as well. And Mansour comes in and he travels from Florida and over and does camps with us and cross train. So he's been a great addition. Young guy you got to keep an eye on, man. This guy's super talented.
How do you make it so Strickland doesn't fight Adesanya like he did with Pereira, which I know there was a lot of ego there, Pereira saying, look, I'm better than these glory kickboxers. How do you sort of reel him in a little bit and like, look, Sean, you got to win this fight. Like, that's the main thing here.
Yeah, I think honestly he understands that too, James. Like he gets it. He trusts in our kind of thought processes as well. It's been a lot of trial and error. We always joke about the Alex Pereira fight where like when he was walking out and hitting the tunnel, he looks back and he's like, all right, let me know when it's halfway. It's like, that wasn't the plan, bro. It was shoot right away. So we joke about that stuff. But in all seriousness, like, he does have to get into some wrestling. He does have to get in some clinches. He does have to do some stuff to make it, where it's just not a kickboxing fight, because that's where Izzy's going to do his best, So, and he'll get in there right away and see, like we had to deal with that when Brad fought Izzy. The length, man, like Izzy's a freaking sniper and it's hard. He can get to you and it's hard to get to him. So there's going to be a lot of things I think we're going to have to improve on. And, Sean's willing to do it.
When are you guys heading down for the fight? Obviously, the time change. There's so many different things that you have to factor in. I imagine you're getting there very early to prep for everything.
Yeah, actually, we'll leave Thursday. Manel's already out there, so Manel left on this past Friday. So Manel's down there now. He's getting ready, getting acclimated, and then we'll leave Thursday. So it gives us about 10 days.
I know Sean is the underdog in this fight. He typically is in a lot of situations. Do you feel like he is underrated as a whole? I remember a lot of people saying Boost was going to be the guy to finish him, and then you had obviously Imavov. It was a short notice fight, but Sean was an underdog there. Do you think Sean gets the respect he deserves as a fighter? Forget about the personality, but as a fighter, do you think he gets that respect?
Yeah, I don't really look into that too much, to be honest with you. Like, he's an awkward style. He's a juggernaut. He's in your face. He's throwing punches from awkward angles. And a lot of it's just pressure and it's sheer determination, to take your head off. And, sometimes it's not stylistically like what you would expect, the way he, his defense and things like that. But, at the end of the day, like, this guy loves his job. He loves to be able to go in there and do what he does and get paid to do it. And he'll, that's what he screams from the rooftops every time, he gets a win. So all in all, man, I think this is a fun fight for Sean. And I think going in as an underdog in the underdog role, it really does benefit him. He has nothing to lose. So go ahead and go and use that mentality and go after this guy.
And we've heard Sean talk about this. His defense is very good in terms of not getting hit that much. That's one of the reasons he's able to spar so much. And he's also tough to finish. I know people talk about the Pereira knockout, but Pereira's knocking out a lot of guys at 85.
For sure.
Strickland's had just the one stoppage loss at 85, had the couple losses at 170. One was a stoppage as well. Kind of what I'm getting at is he's pretty durable. This is a 5-round fight. Like, how much of an advantage is that with Sean being very defensively sound and also a tough guy to take out, where if it does go to the scorecards like we have with Jared Cannonier, it can get pretty close.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of things that we predicate on is to try to get this into the championship rounds and try to get this into some of the deeper waters due to the fact that he is durable and he'll still be in your face and he'll still go 25 minutes and he keeps that pressure and keeps that pace. And him being able to do that in his last 4 or 5 fights, obviously with Jack Hermanson, Eminoff, Cannonier. So he's tested those waters. And I was really happy with the Eminoff fight because it was 4 days notice. He jumped right in and fought this guy and beat him on all 3 scorecards. So yeah, it does definitely play a part into our game plan and what we need to do and how we need to go and execute this fight and, just keep that pressure going.
How do you balance everything? We saw you a few weeks ago in Boston with Brad Tavares. I know you got a lot of guys you're working with. I guess the priority, obviously, for now is Sean with it being a title fight. But how do you sort of balance all that?
It could get difficult, but I'm just kind of like schedule out my day hour to hour, and I try to make sure that when I'm there, I'm present. Like I have Dan Ige this morning. He kind of encompasses the Mondays in the morning times, and I'll have another person, and then I'll do my pro practice as well. But, it's a day-to-day thing. And the hard part, honestly, James, is when you get on the road because you can't be hands-on. So I was gone with Brad. I left the entire fight week with Brad. So sometimes I'll try to leave. I like to be there for the weight cuts. If I can come in a little later, it helps me a few days. But Brad's been my guy forever. So being on the road with Brad was just kind of thing I had to do. So yeah, man, it's a constant juggle. You got Jeremy Kennedy. He's right there getting ready to hopefully get a title fight here soon. We got Kai Kamaka rebooked. Dan Ige, Zal Huber. I have Natan Levy on the same day. And then obviously Francis Ngannou. So yeah, it's been pretty chaotic, but at the end of the day, man, it's been pretty fun. I'm blessed to be able to be this busy.
Yeah, and you good segue there. Ngannou, obviously, we haven't heard much from him because he's got his fight coming up here pretty soon. I mean, it's going to be September this weekend, so that fight's about a month away. Just first, like, how surprised were you that he got Francis as an opponent? He bet on himself. There's all these naysayers, and he went out there and got it. Like, you know him quite well, but the boxing world, we know it's tough to get those fights. Just your initial reaction to him getting that fight.
Oh, I was so happy for him. I mean, this is something that, like, during COVID, him and I spend so much time together and just talking about goals and hopes and dreams and aspirations. And that was one of the things he always spoke about. He's like, I would love the opportunity to box first and foremost, but Tyson Fury was the guy that he always, wanted to be able to box. So, for him to be able to go and get that done, and hearing some of the grumbling, like this guy made a mistake or fumbled the bag or this or that, I'm just happy for him. And it's not necessarily like a victory lap. You still have to get in there. You still have to go fight this guy. But he made a huge step, man. He really did. And to be able to go out and, go get paid what he's going to get paid, man, couldn't be happy for him.
How's the training? Obviously, it's boxing, not MMA. Do you bring people in? Like, how do you sort of game plan for that, fighting one of the best boxers in the world?
Yeah, so Dewey's been taking a lot of the lead on this. He had a couple different ideas on what he wanted to do for boxing coaches stuff. Obviously, Mike Tyson's been coming in and helping out and doing some things. So for me, man, it's been cool. Like I just kind of get to sit back and put on my learned hat. I have some ideas and some things that him and I talked about that I think could be beneficial when you fight a guy like Tyson Fury. Obviously, it's going to be very difficult to go in there and outbox this guy, no matter if you had 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, right? Like it's going to be difficult to go out and just outbox Tyson Fury. So I think there's a lot of things that we do well in MMA that I think he's going to have to try to encompass into this fight, and and be unorthodox and try to come from different angles and do things that maybe guys aren't accustomed to in a boxing. So, with some of those being said, he's got some great people in right now that are helping him spar, and it's been fun. Like he'll spar today. He'll spars on Monday. He's got some big, tall, lanky guys in. He had one guy coming in who's 6'7", so he's got some good bodies, man. It's been fun to watch.
Switching gears a little bit, obviously the heavyweight champion in the UFC now is John Jones. He's got that big fight against Stipe. I was just curious your opinion on that fight. People talk about Stipe, the layoff and all that stuff, but we're talking about one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. How do you look at that fight, and who do you give the edge to in that one?
Yeah, it's tough to say. I mean, I think you have to give it to John, in this performance that he had. But I think for Stipe, a guy who's been off for so long, he was the last DC fight that he had when we were preparing for him with Francis. He did a lot of really, really good things in that fight and changed up a little bit of his footwork. He was doing a lot of like mixed lead stuff and stance switches in motion. I was very impressed with what Stipe was implementing. And then for us, it was a part of our game plan on how to shut that down and how to nullify that. But with that being said, I think he was onto some good things, man. It'll be interesting to see what they decide to do with John. I wouldn't say that the wrestling necessarily cancels each other out. I think John can out wrestle anybody if he really wanted to. But I think Stipe is going to be a more formidable foe when it comes to the takedown defense stuff. So will this stay on its feet? I'll be interested to see that, because John didn't look like he was that comfortable on the feet when he was going with Gon. Like kind of right away just looked like, let me just take this guy down, which smart, man. That was the blueprint, man. We laid it out for the guy. So he went in and executed it and got Gon out of there. No problem. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I hope these guys get through this camp healthy, and they're able to actually go in and perform, because I think it's gonna be a fun fight.
Another fight I was curious about that's coming up, which I think is very interesting. We've got Paulo Costa fighting Khamzat Chimaev at middleweight. Just what do you make of that fight? And I know Chimaev's the favorite, but it'll be interesting him fighting like a top guy at middleweight now.
Yeah, man. When Khamzat was out here, I was blown away by the way he's able to blend his striking into his level changes. I held pads for him a couple times, and his speed, his quickness, his accuracy. But his feint game in between, he very much blends his striking into his wrestling. It's hard to catch a rhythm on whether he's going high, low. He does it very, very well. I was very impressed with right away. And then you got the Paulo Costa, who's really a freaking juggernaut. He's a guy that I think once he nullifies a takedown or two, his whole thing is when he gets guys on the barrier. And that was one of our biggest things when Uriah fought. I was like, do not put your back against the cage with this guy, man, because he's a finisher from there. And, I think that's when he gets guys on their back foot and he's able to push forward. That's where Paulo is best. So it'll be interesting to see. Does Khamzat come out and try to wrestle him right away and put him down? Or, are these guys going to strike a little bit and see how it shakes out?
Do you give Khamzat the edge just because of the fight style, or do you think Costa, with him being a mainstay in the weight class, would sort of have the edge in that one?
I gotta give it to Khamzat just because I've seen him in the room. I've trained with him, and this is no knock on Costa. I'm just saying, I've seen what Khamzat's capable of. And then I always side with the guy who has the equalizer in the wrestling. If he can dictate where the fight goes and can put a guy on his back. Yeah. So when Khamzat was here, man, myself and Jeremy Kennedy, we picked his brain a lot, and we'll have series and things that actually in Jeremy's last couple fights, he heard me calling out Khamzat, and we have some codes that we use for what we picked up from him. So I like the way Khamzat applies his ground and pound. I like the way he applies his grappling. He's more of a staple guy, keeps guys pinned down, but uses his ground and pound very, very effectively. Like he's a ground and pound guy first, submission second guy. So I really like it and enjoy it.
And just last one I wanted to ask you about Islam Makhachev and Charles Oliveira, the rematch. What do you make of that? Obviously, Islam very dominant in the first one, but Oliveira, nice win in his last one against Beneil Dariush.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Like, I think the onus is always on the guy who won the first time, because I feel like, he can just kind of be like, I've already beat this guy. Let me just go and show up and beat him again. Like, I always look back at like the Luke Rockhold, Michael Bisping, like, I already smoked this dude. And like, maybe he doesn't train as hard. And I'm not saying that was the case, but I always just kind of think about like, the onus is more on the guy who won the first time, whereas the guy who lost, I feel like, he's got the motivation. He might have, gone back and looked at the drawing board at some of the things he can fix. So I would imagine it'd be a much closer fight this time around, to be honest with you, James.
And do you think Islam takes that one again? I think, betting wise, it's kind of looking that way, right?
It's hard to bet against him, man. It really is. It's very hard to bet against him. I think Oliveira can do some things on the feet, but the problem every time I watch Oliveira, it seems like his head stays right on that center line. He gets clipped, and the one thing that he always did great was anytime he got hit, he always kind of had a standing 8 count with his guard. He just lay on his back and nobody wanted to go in his guard. So he was always okay there, whereas Islam is welcome to go in your guard. He already just submitted you last time, so he has no problem getting in the ground game with you. So I think Oliveira can do some good things on the feet. He just has to mind his center lines.
Before we go, nominated for Coach of the Year. That's always got to feel good. All the work you've put in and everything. Just what does that mean to you to be recognized? And I think universally, I don't know many people that say anything bad about you, Coach.
I appreciate it, man. It's so cool. I think this is the 3rd year in a row by Fighters Only magazine. And honestly, James, like it's so nice to be able to show my family that. Because when you're on the road, you're traveling, you're doing all these things, you're missing the birthdays, you're missing the soccer games and everything else. It's nice to be recognized, even if it's a nomination, for them especially, because they know the hard work is paying off and people are recognizing what we're doing. And, I couldn't be happier. And it was all it's the guys in the room, guys and girls in the room, they're getting the win. So they make me look good.
And you always make me look good in these interviews, Eric. I really appreciate it, man. If there's anything you want to mention before we get out of here, again, you got guys coming up fighting, anything you want to plug, the gym, any of that stuff, as usual, I'll give you the last word.
No, I just wanted to send a congratulations to our girl Maria who beat cancer, so she's back in the gym. So super huge win for everybody. The morale in the gym was super high because of it, but we love her and we're proud of her.